afternoon, everyone. Before I start, I just want a raise of hands if you remember the days before automated linting tools. Quite a few of you. And I can imagine that was incredibly time-consuming, if not frustrating. Now imagine journalists who are in a similar situation to you. They're having to handle repetitive tasks like fact-checking, reformatting of articles, even content retrieval. It's pretty similar to manually reviewing code. Just as automated linting tools have helped improve our productivity and even code quality, journalists could benefit immensely from AI tools that could help streamline their workflow. Hi, my name is Katie Koschland. I'm a principal engineer at the Financial Times. I work in newsroom technology, and today I'm going to talk about one of the teams I lead called Accelerate AI. This is a newly formed team that focuses on AI initiatives across our newsroom. And although I am the one speaking today, as you can see, the team is made up of many different disciplines, and it really is our varied skill sets and our collaborative approach that really allows us to drive meaningful change within the newsroom. The Financial Times is one of the world's leading news organizations. It's recognized internationally for its authority, integrity, and accuracy. And from the outset of AI, our editor introduced a policy that clearly stated, while AI may assist, articles will continue to be written and reported by our journalists. And this is really to ensure that the human touch remains central to our storytelling, preserving that unique voice and perspective of our journalists. So as we explore the potential of AI today, it's really important we continue to uphold the standards that define our journalism. So, in this talk, I'll start by defining what a large language model is, often referred to as an LLM. And I'll also delve into the concept of prompting. This will help set the scene for the experiment I will then introduce and talk about today, the AI Playground. This is an internal tool we've developed at the Financial Times to empower our journalists. It's for them to experiment with large language models within their existing workflow. Then, I'll talk you through a practical example where I'll demonstrate how different prompting techniques can leverage large language models for assistance of high-quality journalistic output. And finally, I'll answer the key question: what are the limits of a large language model in writing like an ST journalist? I'll share my thoughts, but I'll also ask you to consider the implications. Let's begin. So, what is a large language model, or LLM? To understand LLMs, let's first start with discussing AI. Think of AI as a set of tools where you've got supervised learning being one of the most important. Supervised learning excels at labeling tasks. The most commonly used example is with email filtering, where it takes an incoming email and it can classify it whether it's legitimate or whether or not it's spam. And then we have generative AI. This is another essential tool. And what happened was researchers discovered that with larger AI models, it performed better with more data. And these models, LLMs, like ChatGPT, use supervised learning to predict the next word in a sentence. For instance, if I was to start the prompt, "I love eating," in my case, trained on my data, the LLM might complete it with donuts. So you can see the prompt is the information that you pass into the LLM to then get a response. And crafting a good prompt is essential because it really influences that quality and relevance of the LLM output. So you're probably thinking, how do you craft a good prompt? And this is where prompt engineering comes in. Prompt engineering is an empirical science that involves iterating and testing prompts to optimize performance. And to achieve this, you can follow the prompt development lifecycle process, which consists of 4 key stages. At the first stage, you clearly define the task. So an example here is summarize FT articles into bullet points. At the next stage, you create an initial prompt that specifies the task and also the desired response. So continuing from that example, you could say, summarize the following Financial Times article into 5 concise bullet points, highlighting the key information. Next, you evaluate the LLM's responses using test cases. So this can include typical examples and also edge cases. So what you want to do here is you want to collect a diverse set of articles, FT articles, that have already been summarized by journalists, and that then allows you to benchmark the LLM's output. And you can feed these test cases into the model itself, and that can assess the performance against the expected outputs using a consistent grading rubric. However, if that's too time-consuming, you can also use human evaluators. So you can have journalists actually assess themselves the LLM output to see whether or not it meets their own expectations. And finally, you iteratively refine the prompt based on the evaluation results and based on the evaluation data. So you can add things like extra clarifications, you can provide extra examples, or even constraints that you pass into the LLM. So in the example about summarizing the articles, you might refine the prompt to even include instructions like include main points on economic impact. By following these stages, you will develop a prompt that can effectively guide the LLM to optimize its performance and also produce the desired outcome. So, having now covered the basics of crafting effective prompts, let's now introduce the exciting AI playground. The AI playground is an experimental tool that we've recently developed at the Financial Times. It empowers our journalists to explore and leverage large language models using our FT content, fostering creativity and also innovation. It's in fact launching as we speak to a select number of journalists to really experiment with it and uncover its full potential. The AI Playground provides robust search functionality and access to our extensive FT content library, making it easy to find relevant articles for LLM input. It then allows journalists to craft their own unique prompts and remix FT content into new and creative formats. And finally, it allows journalists to share and implement successful prompts, fostering collaboration and also sharing knowledge across our newsroom. Great. Now let's actually see the AI Playground in action. Meet Scoop. Scoop is a fictional journalist at the Financial Times. She's on a tight deadline for an election piece. She needs to create a detailed timeline leading up to the UK general elections. With time running out, Scoop turns to the AI Playground to assist her. And here's how she does it. Scoop uses retrieval augmented generation to search for and retrieve content on UK elections, and she specifies the date range that she's interested in to make sure that she's retrieving the most relevant content for her task. She then is shown a whole list of different segments, and a segment is a 300-word extract from an FT article, and she has the ability to select the content most relevant to her task that she wants to feed into the LLM for input. And you can see here, she's actually deselecting the content that was prior to the election date being announced. And we roughly show about, at the moment we're experimenting, but we're roughly showing about 15 different segments for the journalists to choose from right now. She then clicks continue to prompt, and she starts to create the prompt. And here again, like I said before, she wants to make sure that the prompt is clear and it's well defined, and she's telling it exactly what she wants as a response. So it might be quite small to read, but what she writes is, create a detailed timeline of key events leading up to the UK elections. Includes the significant political announcements, major policy debates, campaign milestones, and any notable public reactions or incidents. Start from the announcement of the election date. Now she's crafted her initial prompt and she creates run prompt. And finally, you can see the LLM has produced a timeline based on that content. Great, we're done. The job's finished. No, upon evaluating the output, Scoop notices that the LLM-generated content doesn't really read like an FT journalist. And it's this evaluation that highlights the limitations and also the areas for improvement. So, how can Scoop enhance the quality of the LLM-generated output? To address this, Scoop applies several different prompting techniques to improve the quality and also the relevance of the LLM's response. Let me now take you through those different techniques. At first glance, Scoop starts to evaluate the output, and she realizes that the generated content doesn't really match the style or the tone of an FT journalist. To address this, she applies her first prompting technique called role prompting. And this is where Scoop primes the LLM to take on the role of an experienced FT journalist. So she starts the prompt with a clear role assignment. You are a very experienced journalist at the Financial Times focusing on British politics. And believe it or not, this guides the output to align more closely with communication and writing style of an FT journalist. It makes the content more authentic, but also more credible. Next, Scoop reviews the output, but now she's really worried about hallucinations. And hallucinations is essentially when an LLM produces incorrect information or fabricated information. To address her concerns, Scoop applies another technique. And this technique, believe it or not, is when you actually tell the LLM it's allowed to fail. Now, I know this sounds crazy, but it's extremely effective, especially for fact-based questions or when you're wanting the LLM to produce or report on real-life events. So, by instructing the LLM to admit uncertainty, Scoop can actually reduce the chance of it providing misleading information. And so she adds the following instruction to the prompt. Please answer the following question to the best of your ability. If you're unsure or you don't have enough information to provide a confident answer, simply say, I don't know or I'm not sure. You're giving the LLM an opportunity to find its way out and to fail. This makes the output much more reliable, and it enhances its accuracy and trustworthiness by avoiding false information. Scoop then notices the quality of responses is still inconsistent, and to address this, she introduces another useful technique. This is called few-shot examples. This technique involves being able to provide the LLM with a few well-crafted examples to guide its responses, significantly improving its performance and also its consistency which is very important. So when choosing examples, you want to make sure that they're relevant, that they're diverse. You also want to make sure you have at least 3 to 5 good examples being provided. And it's important to also say that this technique is only really as effective as the examples you provide it. So you really want to make sure that you're picking the right examples to provide to the LLM. So you can see here, Scoop uses example XML tags to wrap her examples, also helping the LLM differentiate between examples and the rest of the prompt. Applying few-shot examples significantly improves the LLM's ability to generate detailed, structured, and consistent responses. And this technique is invaluable for tasks requiring high-level precision and adhering to specific formats like timelines do. But Scoop still encounters challenges and it's the LLM's really not doing a good job with complex questions and the task at hand. So she notices that the LLM sometimes lacks depth, or it kind of misses the critical steps in its reasoning. And for complex tasks, it's really beneficial to let the LLM be able to think step by step before answering. And this improves accuracy and the nuance of its responses. So Scoop applies another prompting technique, which is called chain of thought. And this is a technique that you ask the LLM to outline its thought process before rushing to a conclusion. So she adds the following instruction to her prompt. Before answering the question, please think about it step by step within thinking XML tags. Then provide your final answer within answer XML tags. This methodical approach improves the depth and also the accuracy of the LLM's responses, and it ensures that well-considered and logical answers instead of rushed conclusions. So, you end up with a final prompt that looks like this. I appreciate it's quite small, the text and the font, but I will share a QR code at the end where you can scan it for all the prompting techniques discussed today. What these techniques show in this prompt is that it demonstrates AI's potential. Its potential to assist journalists, but also it highlights the limitations of LLMs. So let's go back and revisit our core question. What are the limits of a large language model in writing like an FT journalist? The answer is that it can help with first drafts. It can provide good quality output in response to well-crafted prompts, saving time in the early writing stages. But it will not, at least as things stand, help with final drafts. The LLMs can assist, but they can never replace our journalists. When used thoughtfully, it can help with remixing FT content into new formats. However, it cannot replace the essential role of our journalists. It cannot provide the emotional thrust, it cannot inspire, and it cannot move someone. But it can help journalists some way along the path of achieving that. It's the irreplaceable human touch. It's the critical thinking, the ethical judgment, and nuanced understanding that remains at the core of high-quality journalism. And these qualities cannot be replicated by large language models. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this talk has provided valuable insights into potential and limitations of using LLMs in journalism. Let's continue to innovate and explore how we can harness these tools to enhance our work. As I mentioned, you can scan this QR code to download a cheat sheet for Scoop's prompting techniques today. Thank you.